Anthony's sad for 40 minutes. Wayne was sad for an hour, so I win.
Next time, give it loud everybody for Anthony Eugenio. We're gonna have a next time. Very funny. Wayne Russell, everybody.
Welcome to the Open My Pain with Anthony and Wayne podcast.
Yeah. You know, when you think that you get to do an episode where Wayne is so sad and you get to gloat in it the whole time and give him advice and be like, that would never happen to me. And then for your very next show to do so bad that we have to do an episode about it. It's tough. Welcome to the show!
It's funny because we talk about how much that we, a lot of our comedy careers have intertwined together. You know, our first book show, our first, contest, things like that. Not that this is a first, but probably our biggest, I don't call them failures, but disappointments of shows happened one after the other, completely unplanned, obviously, but pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely the biggest, not to spoil the episode, but certainly the most a single joke has ever bombed for me, ever. And this wasn't one of those where, like, it was sold out room, so plenty of people. But yeah, no, let's start. So, this episode's called Anthony's Sad. Damn it, because I'm so sad. I had a show opening for Tuck Tucker, who's very funny, in Topsham, New Hampshire, Maine. I'm not even sure that's how you say that fucking name of that city. And at a Smitty's movie theater, which you had a fantastic show. Why don't briefly you talk about that show? Because it was great.
Yeah, that was it was early last year, and Jacques was hosting, and he had a chance to put me up for, I think it was 5 minutes, and it was still very green. It was like my 1 year anniversary ish, and I want to say it went pretty good. There was like 100 people in there, and for where I was at that time, I think it went pretty well.
I agree. I remember how giddy you were after that set. So every other person who has talked to me, who is a veteran in the game, when I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing a couple movie theaters, like, oh, that sucks. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, people are used to watching movies in movie theaters, so they're used to being quiet. They're also very comfortable in chairs like that, so it's very tough to get them to engage in a show. I was like, I'll get them. And it was, I guess, for background, I guess the show was selling like a pretty low ticket amount because it is a pretty remote place. And the headliner is from that city, and he brought all his people to the show. So it was like, I think he told me we had 105 tickets and 98 of them were his friends. And I was like, man, this is going to be fucking awesome. It's kind of like in that way where you do a bringer show and everybody has friends and family there. So it's just a great crowd because they're all trying to support comedy. So I had really high hopes. Everybody was coming up to Tuck before he started and was shaking his hand. Also got to do it with Sarah Paulin and Sam Buck, who I was really, really excited to meet. Sam Buck, because he's another guy who likes weed. He's got a great podcast, Bucked Up podcast. And I got to smoke out of a Dunkin' Donuts cup-shaped bong with him. That was fun. And, then I went, big 105 people in a movie theater. Pretty cool show. I wasn't hosting. That's great. So just got to go up. I was Bullet, but, who cares? It looked like a pretty good show with people. So the host goes up. And are we ready to start the show? Do you have any preliminary questions, Wayne? I'm kind of hosting and going at it now.
I don't think so. I think no. I don't think I have any prelim questions. I think kind of similar to last week. Maybe just go at it step by step.
All right. So yeah, got there. Pretty cool. They were like, you can eat for free, and I was like, nice. Can't eat right now, but I will scope that menu. Smitty's, Chunkies. I'm gonna call it Chunkies because that's the one I know. That's where I'm from.
Do you still not eat before you go on stage?
Nah, I can't do it. I can't
either. It's tough.
No,
which is a detriment because usually by the time I'm off, the food's not available anymore.
It's true. There's that, but there's just like a post nut clarity you get after a set where you're like, okay, now I can totally eat, and now the world makes sense again. Where that doesn't happen beforehand. It's like you're getting ready for battle, but the lamest, most embarrassing battle you can ever do. So, pretty cool staff, great setup. It's awesome to do a movie theater. Just the fact that like you're like, it says comedy in your name and shit like that, and on the thing, really nice, fun. In the back of my head, so I talked to Pat Napoli. I did Wicked Funny with him, he's very funny. And he's been a comedian for, I think, 20 years, 15, 20 years. And I told him I was doing some. I was like, oh, it looks pretty good. It might be sold out because it's like the week of. And he's like, yes, don't feel bad about how that goes. I was just like, I would have felt way worse about that if he had seen my set before he said that. But he said that before he saw my set. So it wasn't like I bombed so hard at Wicked Funny or something that he was like, hey, you're going to suck there too. But he was like, those are really weird energy rooms. They're just always weird because it's not designed for comedy. You're disconnected, and yada, yada. So I had that in the back of my head going up, but I was pretty confident. You know, it was just a full room of people. And so, you know, I was ready to hit him. All right. So the host went up, who was very nice. And she had a really tough time getting them going. They were not talking, super quiet, but they weren't responding to almost anything she was saying. You know, if she was like, let's go, they'd be like, yeah, all right. And I don't know what it was. For a long time and through her set, I was like, man, they must just really be waiting for their guy or something. You know what I mean?
What was the demographic of the crowd?
It was all over the place. It was there were some, because they were all his friends and family. So it was literally like he had some cousins there that were really young, and he had some, teachers that were really old. He had some jujitsu people he did with, I think, or something like that were around his age. So it was a great spattering of people across.
I think when I did it, I want to say it was back in March. No, doesn't matter what it was, but I want to say it was like a middle-aged to older crowd, maybe like 40s to like maybe 70s crowd for the most part.
That's what I
wasn't
figured
sure
it would
because
be.
that was the only movie theater I've done. I didn't know if that was like, is that who goes to those?
It's true. I'll update next week because I am doing another one that looks like to be about sold out as well with Jim McHugh on Friday at another Smitty's. So I'm putting myself through this fucking shit hole hellstorm again. So excited for that. But yeah, let's keep going. So yeah, we're there. It's demographic good, lighting good, except I will complain about the lighting a little bit, not going forward, but the only complaint I have is that when they hit you with the projector like that, you can see the front row and you can't see anything else. So you're kind of whitewashed and blinded. And these things, people tend not to sit in the front row. So you're kind of looking at nobody. Again, tough to connect when you have that aspect to it, but still, no excuse is what it is. But anyways, so host not getting much out of them. Don't blame her. It was just really tough saying jokes. They just were politely laughing and then getting really silent. So the energy was just really dead and low. So I went up and I tried to hit a joke in the beginning that was a little bit higher energy delivery, and it worked. You know, I got into my set. California Sober went good. You know, my little intro about weed went good. Even a lot of immigrant parents went good. The energy was still low, and this is where I fucked up, and we'll explain this. Where energy was low on my jokes, but I was still getting punchlines. They were just quiet in between, and it felt awkward. I should have said something. You know, I should have mentioned how awkward we were acting, because it might have got nervous laughter that could have built towards more. I very unhumbly told you to do that last week, and I very stupidly didn't do it like the next day. So it's tough, you know. I think it's more of like I'm pretty sure this is you get this with time type of aspect to be that comfortable on it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's one of those things like Seinfeld with George with the the ocean called and they're running out of shrimp and he's like, oh, he thinks about it later. He's like, oh man, I should have said the jerk store called, and I think we all get that after something like that where you're driving home, you're like, oh shit, I should have said this, I should have done that.
It's true.
And I don't think you have the ability to act on that until you're in that situation, enough times where you can just pull it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you remember the time that you're like, I should have said that, and then now you have it on the top of your head. I do. I another tangent. I did Nick's comedy stop afterwards, which went good. But I did have that feeling when I did a little bit of crowd work where I say something called ancient white voodoo in one of my jokes, and because people who put white bread in Ziploc bags of cookies to make them last longer. And I had a girl absolutely dying in front of me, so much so that I stopped, I kneeled down, and I was like, it looks like I caught one of you. And it was funny, but she was so white. I could have went off on that for like I thought about calling her Iowa Caucus was her name. I thought about all kinds of things afterwards that I should have said in the moment, and I would have blown the room up by doing that because they were really responding to that type of crowd work. But I was just like, oh, I want to get back into my material, so I leaned down, did that little quick thing, got a big pop, and then went into the rest of my joke. And afterwards, I really regretted not putting more effort into that interaction.
Quick aside on that, how was Nick's with time? Were they like, how much time did you do there?
I did 10, and Matt was very not strict on time. He's a great comedian himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I went bullet at Nick's at 2, which is like, stop making me do Bullet World. But, that's what happens. You get a good string of those every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But he was very, like, clinical on how he put together the list and what, like, he's like, Bullet is a very important spot. It's we can't start the show off crap. So I need to put him. I put more experienced guys in Bullet, and then I put the guest spots after the Bullet. So he had a good way of doing it. But what he said was don't worry about your time. Just go out there and try to get them loose.
That's what he said to me when I did longboards down on the Cape.
Yeah.
Yeah, just don't worry about have fun. We're here to have fun.
Yeah, he was great. He was a great host.
Yep.
I'm hosting again next, and April. I'll be next again. Hosting this time. That'll be fun. All right. Anyways, we're back. We're talking about a not good one. So, all right. I'm at Immigrant Parents. Things are going well, but they are they're low energy. They're laughing at me, and then they're getting really quiet after the punchlines. They're respectful, which happens sometimes. Now, instead of addressing it directly, I didn't want the place to get awkward. I'm gonna just pivot. I'm gonna do an edgy joke because they're low energy. Maybe an edgy joke will bring them around, and that's what they're looking for. It's not an old demographic; it's younger. Maybe they want that. So, but I was wrong. Boy, was I wrong. I have a joke, and I'm gonna burn it here because I don't care. And I went to England, and I was really blown away by they don't have public urination laws over there, so people piss all over the place, which is disgusting. And the punchline of my joke is basically, in America, if you're caught publicly urinating, you might as well do it on a 7-year-old's face because the crime's the same, and you might as well enjoy yourself. So that's the bit. I love that bit. Makes me so happy. It's a great bit. However, after a crowd is just lukewarm liking you really for your first 5 minutes, it might not be a good idea to take the biggest left turn you can possibly take in material and completely go blue without addressing it, without doing anything. Just like, here's a bang in your face. And I purposefully switched to that bit. I went like didn't have to do that. And it was so dumb because that was the hardest a joke has ever bombed for me. Normally, if I bomb a joke, I bomb into bad groans, which are good. I don't mind that. That's a bomb I'll take because I'm making them feel something. And, sometimes you can tell they didn't like it, but you made them feel a thing. And if you can get them to feel something, you can change their energy if you can do the jokes now. They didn't feel anything when I said that joke except anger. So I did that joke, tried to turn the energy around, and I did it, and I'm like, ha-ha? And it's silence. Like cricket. Nobody said, not even a comic giving me a Jacques laugh in the back because he's the man. Nope, everybody's just like, mm. And then I was like, I was like, now I have to address that. I can't let that bomb start another joke. That I know better than. So I tried to. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you have an idea what you think why that might have not hit with them?
Yeah, because I'm fucking there. Sam, I'm gonna go over all this afterwards too into more detail. But when I was doing my first jokes, like I said, they were laughing, but I wasn't connected with them. They were procedure. They didn't understand the comedy show because they obviously didn't understand what we were doing. The host had a real tough time getting them to understand comedy, and I wasn't. I should have been talking to them. Like, I should have been like, "What do you like?" I should have been trying to single out a guy and have an interaction and do something to. There's a quote that Will Noonan, I guess, said to Sam Buck, who then said to me, which I thought was really good. He said, they have to know you're in the room with them. You're not just on the screen performing. And that's going to be key to connecting with them. And I just was not doing, I was just doing my act, because I couldn't see them. So I was really just like, all right, you're out there. Here's how it goes. And I was trying to make eye contact with the people in the front row that I could and make my pauses work. But I wasn't grabbing them with the jokes. Like, go to Wicked Funny, and even if I'm not making eye contact, if I feel extreme laughter at my first couple jokes, it helps you connect because you're like, yes, hell yeah, you love me. Next time I make this joke, I'm really gonna look into you. But it gets awkward when you're not getting big pops. You're just getting a little bit there. You're like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what? I don't know where to. And then I start in my head. Because I'm doing Immigrant Parents, and I know that bit so well that I'm not thinking about the bit while I'm doing it. I'm thinking about what I can do next to try to turn the energy around. So then I'm probably not giving my best performance during that bit just because I'm thinking so much during it.
Real quick aside of that, do you ever do a bit so autonomously like that, and then when you're done with it, you're like, did I fuck that up? Because you weren't paying attention to yourself doing it?
Yeah.
Sometimes
a whole set. Yeah, sometimes definitely a whole set. Because when I'm hosting or doing that, I'm doing 10 minutes. And if I'm doing 10 minutes now and I want it to be like a host 10 minutes, maybe stupidly, but I have a tight 10 where I'm just like, I know this is 10 minutes. It's a good order of jokes. They're they're clean-ish. They're not going to offend anybody, blah, 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 all that. I have that. So sometimes I'll finish a whole 10 minutes and it will take me till I get to the car to realize I forgot a joke or something just because, so in the pocket. But that's something we got to break. Got to break that. Got to get more in the moment with the jokes. But yeah. All right. So huge bomb on that joke. Huge bomb. So in my head, I went, you should probably get off now. You should probably just say sorry and get off because that just completely murdered the room and ruined everything you could do afterwards. But, and my next joke that I did after that, they didn't take either. They were still not, it wasn't like bomb like the first time. There was a light chuckle, but I can feel the energy dead. Moral of the story that was good, at least, I got them back by the end. My last two jokes that I have, Tigers and When I Die, they were laughing like they were in the beginning by the time I got to that, which was good. That was something, the headliners and stuff were talking about. Like, oh, it's cool that you worked your way out of that fucking huge, stupid thing you did in the middle there. But still, I felt like shit afterwards. I was happy I got out of it, but it's not like I bombed wall to wall or anything. But it was still embarrassing because I didn't feel in control of the set at all. Like, I felt like I was, please like me. Where if I was better, so afterwards, I got off, not feeling great. Sam Buck goes up next. And it's not like his jokes were material-wise, were kind of hitting like mine where the energy wasn't there. The difference was every time that happened, Sam would call them out and be like, are we here to see a comedy show or are you guys here for funerals? Like something like that, whatever the case may be. He had a lot of saves where if his joke went bad, he would say that. He would get a big response out of the crowd from it, actually, because they were responding to stuff like that. and then he would get into his next bit, and it would do much better. Then maybe the next one would go down again, but then he would say that again, and he'd bring him back. So he was in control. He was like, that didn't work. Here's the antidote. Here, now this. He wasn't at the end of it like, I don't know what to do. He got big laughs when he did that, and so at the end of his set, he like stayed off a bomb. Like he knew how to not bomb, not crush, but also not bomb. Where maybe my school is like do good or do horrible, and it's hard to navigate the middle ground.
Yeah, that's definitely another experience thing. Having lived through those, I'm sure he's lived through 1,000 of these things. These
8 years in the game, so yeah, he knows.
Yep. So you did the movie theater, and then the very next night was Nick's. So you had a pretty quick turnaround on getting that stank off.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, the thing is, though, I had to go bullet at Nick's, and there's only there's a ceiling to bullet. There's only so good you can do when you're in bullet because nobody's fucking ever. Especially Nick's didn't have the heat working or something, so it was Wayne single digits in there, and it was and because of that, it was tough to get him going. But it was good, and I was like, I did my job. Like I felt really good after that one. This was more. I was just because of the situation, everybody was comfortable. I had saw when yours was sold out how good they were, and I was just really ready for them to be good. But even the headliner Tuck, who knew everybody up there, he got off the stage and he was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Why was that so hard?" He didn't bomb, no way. Would never call it that because he still got great laughs in between. He was very funny, but the energy was still. He called it out a bunch of times. And he's like,
it's funny that's what happened with Carolyn as well. Even though she went up and did infinitely better than all three of us combined. Even take me out of the equation with my negative good. She did better than the other two combined. And she was getting great laughs. And people were loving her. And she got off stage. She was like, that was fucking tough. And I was like, for what the room was, you smashed it. But she, it's fun. That's a little consoling knowing that the pros are feeling the same thing. They just know how to navigate it better.
Yeah, that's the truth. And you got more time. If you're up there for he had a couple really low points, and he's a good pro and with good jokes worked his way out of it and got back into getting good sets. Where it's like when I'm doing 15 minutes, I'm like, it took me the whole second half of my set to undig myself from that one fuck up that I did. But that was so bad. That was about the worst set I had. I don't want to say worst set on the year because again, that Thirsty Robot was way shittier of an experience for me. That we did earlier with Delusional, because that was, yes, the crowd sucked for everybody on that too for the most part. Like Casey, even at the end, I watched him bomb a couple jokes, and I was like, wow, I've never seen that before. And also, all this advice we're giving, isn't it crazy that Casey doesn't do that at all? If he bombs a joke, he just moves right on to the next one. He just goes, and he goes on to the next one.
But he's also like one-liners, right?
Yeah.
So it's if you bomb a 30-second joke, you just go on to the next 30-second joke.
It's true.
It's not like you're bombing a 2 or 3 minute or 5 or 7 minute chunk of your material. He's bombing a joke.
Yeah.
So it's probably a little easier to move on from there. I could be wrong. I don't know. That's not my style, but
I just thought it was interesting because I feel like every other person I see that's like a heavily invested headliner, they don't put up with that at all. Like Mike. Every time I open for Mike K or if he hosts or something like that and he goes up in the beginning and they're not good, he's like, hey, I will fucking leave. You get better right now. But then, I think Steve Bjork plays it differently because he's very minded. That's never the crowd's fault. So he's just knows how to do it. Oh, man, it's so annoying how good he is at turning a bad crowd around. That I'll never be able to do because he'll do something like not take the mic out of the mic stand and be like, I think these people just need to be yelled at. And you're like, I don't know how you determine that, but you were right. That's what they needed.
Yeah, it's funny. Something Jacques says all the time about Tony V. Tony V has never, in the last 30 years, has not walked out of a bad room. He's walked into a ton of them. He's never walked out of a bad. Yeah, never walked out of a bad room. And once again, that's the experience. That's the Steve Bjork at Winter Circle going, oh, this is the page of my book I need to go to.
Mm-hmm. He did show me that a long time ago. So yeah, that sucked. It sucked in a way. I mean, it sucked, and I don't know if it was confusing to you, but I was pretty jolly afterwards. This was a really unique one where I didn't care so much that it happened. I cared technically, because I wish I could have turned it around, but I kind of just know why it happened, and the fact that it happened to everybody, to varying degrees, makes you feel better. You're like, oh well, if he can't do it, I can't do it. But yeah, no, I want to be the guy that crushes, though, that no matter what can turn the crowd around. And I know it's going to take time, but it's still annoying. Especially because in 2 days, but if Days of X of Futures Past, and when you're listening to this would have already happened, so hopefully it didn't happen again. But I got another shot. I know it's hosting, so there's only so well you could do with that. Even more so than Bullet, so I am preparing for it to be similar. But I'm not going to piss on a 7-year-old's face in a bit, so going to definitely dodge that one. Going to not do that.
Yeah.
And
that's up in Hampton, right? Old Salt, was it called?
No, Old Salt is tomorrow. I am doing that. That is for Laugh Riot. Friday, I'm doing Smitty's with.
Oh, you're talking about another movie theater. I'm sorry. I thought I was just thinking show in general. Yep.
No, I'm really excited tomorrow about the Old Salt, actually, because that's one of the, Mike Smith always has great rooms, and last time I did one of his rooms, it was really fun. So hopefully, I can get a nice, great, bring my confidence level up set before I walk into Smitty's again.
You're on that old Salt with a piece of shit, right? Justin George?
No, he's not on that one. He's on another Old Salt. In a couple
oh,
of
really? I thought you guys were on the same one.
No, I wish we were. No, I never know. I never know how much time I'm doing or who's on it or what, because I saw you got a flyer for one of your shows, which is cool.
I did.
He does, though. That's the only style flyer that Mike does, and he only does them, I think, when he needs to, because I've booked 4 shows with him now, and none of them are going to have those, I don't think. But yeah,
I was surprised at how fast that came over too.
I know. Did he ask you for credits?
Just asked me where. So he watched my tape and then just asked me. He's like, "Hey, what rooms have you performed in?"
Oh,
so
that's nice.
Yeah.
Nope, not me.
Yeah. It's been a roller coaster ride of a week for I think everybody in comedy who's done anything in the last week has been pretty wild.
It's true, and I wonder, because somebody told me that I forgot who mentioned it, but it's just a weird time in the year to go to see comedies right after Christmas and after all the bullshit people have gone through. I wonder if it's just a tough week. It's Friday shows too. Friday shows are tough. I've learned that. Everybody after at the end of a work week is tired. Saturday shows are better because they get some rest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do different, but I'm gonna do something different Friday because I'm gonna report back. I'm definitely, if I don't do this Friday, I have to quit podcast in the world. Is if it starts to not go well, I need to address the crowd. Not so much change jokes, because I'm not really gonna. I'm doing 10 minutes as a host, so there's no way for me to like, oh man, I'm gonna pivot to a different theme. It's like, no, I mean it's 10 minutes, so I'm just gonna do 10 minutes of jokes that aren't like no one would say, hey, that's too offensive to do. But I'm gonna try to connect with them a little bit more, see what I can do there. Maybe spend more time picking out. I got my billboards joke, which Wayne, and I've considered taking the examples of that and tailoring them to the locality that I'm in. So looking up a strip club and a liquor store from their local area and just doing the bit in that way. And I think that could be a host joke that works really well. Is something to connect and assimilate by going into their town. And let me go on the record and say I fucking hate connecting with people. I hate that you have to do that. That's so stupid. Do you think, like, go watch who's the biggest dance? Like Shane Gillis. He's not connecting with anybody when he's on a theater stage doing he's doing a routine, and it's just so awesome, and you're there for him, so you just take it. And we can't do that.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say that the people are there for him, right? So if you had a theater full of people that appreciated your sense of humor, you could do that too.
You just go just go up and do your routine. Sam did say that in a way that didn't seem possible because he's got a big following, and he was like, man, he's like, I do headline shows that that are from fans of his podcast, Bucked Up There, and he's like, and it will, he'll sell out a show and everyone's there to see him, and he's like, it feels like when you do that, you're like, this is what comedy is, and I can't believe that there's another way to do this where everybody in there doesn't know you, because he said it's just so much better version of doing it. He's like, how you explain that you have 2 kids and all that stuff. He's like, you don't do that. He's like, because they know you have kids. They know you. So you can go right into bits without big setups. He's like, and then the punches hit so hard. So that's really cool. Someday, let's hope that could happen to us, but not now.
Yeah. But even where we are at this point, I'll take what I can get. I'll take the shitty New Year's shows over nothing at the moment.
Yeah, I am gonna be. That is my. Oh, what a cunty resolution this is gonna be this year. But my resolution. Make sure you bloop that. Sorry, bleep that. Bleep that. My resolution is going to be ready to turn down stuff too. Really interested in taking stuff, obviously, as we both are. But I think my mentality for the year has been yes to everything, please. So don't say no. You have to say yes. And I've been getting advice lately to don't be afraid to say no sometimes. Because quality comedy experience is much more important than quantity of comedy experience. Because if you just go out and have a bad night, and you're like, I knew that was going to be bad. I still signed up for it. I still took it. And I did it anyways because I didn't want to say no. And then you have a shit night where you eat it. And then you're really like down on comedy until your next set. And I feel like I'm going to do that to myself the more that I accept things that don't make sense for, a room that doesn't make sense for comedy, for instance, and all that. So I do want to be, and I think you should do the same. I think we should be more selective this year would be good. But don't be afraid to say no if we feel like the room's going to hurt us.
I agree with that, but I also look at it, some of them, like, I don't want to say like an open mic, but you feel a little less pressure and you feel like maybe you can try some new things out in places like that where it's not going to hurt your feelings if they don't laugh.
Yeah, that's true. If you're setting yourself up for it, that's it. I just haven't. Like, if it's on a Friday or Saturday and it's a big show for them and it's for a headliner, it's hard to look at it like that. Even if it's in a place that you don't want to do. You're like, it's a big... Like a showcase at a bar, you're right. Take those if you got nothing going on so you can work out some shit. Treat it like an open mic. I more mean like this is a real show that they're going to put marketing into and care about, and there's a guy that's going to matter, but I'm just going to be there to basically be cannon fodder and eat shit in the beginning, and that's my job. I'm still going to do a lot of those, especially in the sense of learning and moving forward and all that. I just more mean I will definitely say no to certain things where I would say yes to in those type of situations if I think I will just be there to eat shit. Because that is the job of yours. You goddamn right it's your job sometimes is to go up there and just eat the shit for the headliner. But I don't want to do that as much. That's too much. It's fucking not fun. It feels like work to do that instead of feeling good. I'd rather do 5-minute guest spots on shows and do it in the middle and at least be like, all right, I'll do 5 new minutes and I can at least get an idea what they feel like in a crowd. But when you're like, here, go bullet and eat shit. And then by the time the next guy comes up, hopefully they have warmed up. And I don't know. It's Anthony's sad episode, so I'm going to be negative about everything. But I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. The bad shows definitely suck, but it makes you appreciate the decent ones so much more. This sounds so cliche, but
That's true. You do learn a lot more. And I want to be cognizant of the fact that the biggest pet peeve for a lot of good comedians and headliners are newer people who think that they're ready for the next step when they're not ready for the next step. You know what I mean? Or like that they're too good for something. And I'm like, I am not in comedy too good for anything. I should be willing to do the worst shows at the worst places to get my foot in the door. And I should be prepared to exclusively host and do Bullet for a couple more years at least. And it's hard in the moment to feel that way because you're like, well, I mean, I featured a couple times and went really well, so maybe that I shouldn't have to, blah, 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 blah. And then you have to quickly talk yourself out of that thought process because really every booker is a different video game to me that you have to try to work your way through. And just because you do really good at one booker doesn't mean the other one knows you and they're going to start you off in the beginning and you got to kind of... And you might not work your way up some of them. Sometimes you might eat shit at the wrong time in front of a booker and you're never going to move up there and you're only going to host or you're only going to do their smaller venues or any of that stuff. And that's okay too. The important part is having the perspective before you go to those shows of how they're going to be if you're going to do them. But yeah, that was wordy.
just because this is fresh. Sometimes those opening spots are spots up front, guest spots, whatever. Like I did 7 minutes at McHugh's on Saturday. It was awesome. I went up. I was right after Jacques was hosting, so it was Jacques for a little bit, and then me for 7-8 minutes, and then I could just sit back, relax, watch the comics and whatever.
Yeah, I mean those are
sometimes,
nice.
too.
Yeah, anything under 10 minutes when you're throughout any part of the show is a nice, easy, best jokes, bang, bang, bang in there. But yeah, that's a good room too. I love McHugh's. I'm doing that.
Yeah, I'll be back there
March
again
1st.
in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
I know, it's nice. Getting it. Better different jokes, motherfucker. Who knows? Maybe it's the same people there.
Yeah, no, I changed it up on over the weekend. I actually, like we talked about, I put my closer first.
Nice.
Kind of worked my way backwards. It's a little tougher because they weren't bought into me, but it made me feel good about the joke because I still laughed at it.
That is, I do that with every joke just to make sure. Like I did Tigers for a little while with my closer, and I'm like, it all goes back to the joke I had trying to have a girl, where I'm like, is this funny or is it just because it's at the end? And you move it around and you don't get the same response, and you're like, it was not the joke, it was just because it was at the end. So it's good to put it in the beginning like you were doing. But all right, yeah, Anthony's sad for 40 minutes. Wayne was sad for an hour, so I win.
Yeah,
But,
you win.
I'm sad less. Do you have anything else to say about how sad we are?
No, not about how sad we are. The future's looking bright. Got some stuff coming up this week. So, met a Waterview Grill this week, Friday.
Yeah, this Friday? Oh, you mean when this podcast comes out this Friday?
Yeah. In the future, because we're in the past.
Yep, X-Men. Got it.
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm
yeah.
heading down to Sweeney's tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, Sweetie's Comedy Den. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so you guys should look that up. Mike Katrobis has secured a monthly showcase at the Comedy Den. That will be Thursdays or Sundays. I think they might switch it up around. I don't know if they're going to stick on what they're doing. But that's a really cool room. And to get an off-night good comedy show, it's not a Friday, Saturday type of one that you can go to. And if you're a comedian, good chance you can get on one of them if it's a monthly showcase, so you should go support it. Definitely check those fucking things out. Those things are cool. This one's already happened because we're in the days of futures past. But Wayne will tell you next week how it went. And he's going to do great because it's going to be a showcase full of a bunch of people, and they're all funny. So It's going to be a nice one. I am going to do Old Salt at the same time. Wish I was there, or with you guys too. We'll see how that goes. I don't even know what the venue is. But really, what I'm excited to update everybody about next week is I get another shot at the same type of play, different city, but same venue that I just ate my dick at. And we're going to see if I can uneat my dick at, or if it's just, me in movie theaters, that's just going to happen in there. I'm going to.
Yeah, it sounds like everybody kind of does that from what you were saying, talking to people. And I've never had anybody tell me negative about a movie theater, but you've heard enough of it that they can be
5
tough.
people.
So.
Yep, 5 separate people now have told me. And I talked to Jacques about it too because he's done so many of them. And I was like, well, what are the percentage that it was good? And he was like, yours. That was the good one that he went to. But he said the other ones weren't as good because they weren't a lot of people. So that will make it bad no matter what. The last one, it was sold out. And the one coming up with McHugh is close to sold out. So I really got no excuses here, people. I know I'm in the beginning and the host, but I should at least walk off and go like I did at Nick's, where I was like, I didn't crush, but that's as good as I was figuring I was going to do as a bullet. And that's what I'm looking for. You got to have that perspective in there because you're going to have different levels of crushing. And you're not going to get the highest level of crushing every time because there's just limiters that you put on your set based on circumstance. So it's good to have that in mind.
You kind of cut out there at the last. I didn't hear the last part you said.
I said Wayne is a piece of shit. Did you get that?
I heard that loud and clear.
Nice. All right, everybody. Wayne's got nothing to say clearly on this entire podcast. So this was you didn't even need to be here. We could have AI dub over the 4 sentences you said on this podcast. Have him do it as Homer Simpson or something, and we could just have him just go "Don't!" every time I do something wrong. And then
I was just letting you wallow. I did it for like 4 days, so just letting you have a night of wallowing.
yeah, wallowing is fun. Wallowing is fun. That's true. You're right. Wayne's right again. God damn it, everybody. So listen, if you were listening to last week's podcast with Wayne being sad, and you were like, I hope this pompous piece of shit Anthony gets his comeuppance soon. You didn't have to wait long. You didn't have to wait long. You had to wait 1 episode. You know who was waiting for this? Was beautiful Dan Cronin, because he was definitely like, he was shadow boxing listening to the last podcast, like, oh, I could punch that little Portuguese fucking like that. Like, he was definitely talking on the group chat like that. So here you go, Dan. All right, I ate shit too. You beautiful piece of shit. Quest for Laughs. Bye.